Right guys, welcome back, and as you can see, the aircraft's all painted with its primary coat. We've got the underside nicely painted up as well. The paints have gone down beautifully and smooth. Really happy with how they've gone down. I've got the canopy painted up off to one side. So what we need to do now, before we do anything else, is seriously think about the chipping I want to put into the wing root. Now there's loads of different ways you can do chipping. You can do the sponge technique, you can do masking fluid, you can buy the brands of chipping fluid, and you can do hairspray chipping, where you basically just spray hairspray onto the model after you've put a silver coat down, and then paint your top coat over it, and then use water to reactivate it, and then you basically scrub away the top layer of paint to reveal the silver coat below. So that is actually what I've done in this instance. Now I'm just, I should have done this before I set the camera rolling, but I'm just looking for some of my older weathering brushes that I use for chipping. My brushes go through varying stages of use before they're absolutely done. So they start as paintbrush, and when they lose their shape or too many bristles, they go to weathering brushes, and then they go to the final hurrah as hairspray chipping brushes. I do somewhere have, I don't know where, 'cause I can never find it when I'm looking for. I have a short bristled, more thicker, firmer bristled brush. The only reason I keep them wrapped in tissue paper is just because it's convenient for me to stop them all rumbling around the drawer together. Right. Right, 2 seconds guys, it's in here somewhere. He says, there we go. So, what do you use, I hear you say? Well, I have a very old Taglieri number, can hardly read it, number 0 is it? It's a flat brush that's been used for weathering for a long time. Totally lost its shape, but it's really good. It's a bit firmer because the bristles have worn down a bit, so it's fine for doing hairspray chipping. I have this flat brush here that's got slightly firmer still bristles, and a new toothpick. Wood, being gentle, won't scratch, or shouldn't if you're careful, scratch through the silver coat you've laid down, but it will help to just start the chips off, and then you can build them up with the brush. So now you can do, well, yeah, the final form of chipping as well is with a Prismacolor metallic silver pencil. You can chip with that too. So loads of different ways, but today I'm going to do hairspray chipping. So first things first, you want a little bit of water, and you just paint the water roughly where you want to do the chipping. And what happens here, you've probably heard this in loads of different videos before, where people are explaining hairspray chipping, is the water will slowly permeate through the porous paint, because it's matte paint, so it's reasonably porous, and will reactivate the hairspray. So basically dissolve the hairspray under the paint, and you then will be able to chip away the paint color, because the hairspray loses its adhesion to the silver coat you put down first and starts lifting. Now Bearing in mind these are models, they're 1/48 scale, so less is more, I think, is basically the way I look at it. The chips need to be as small as you can make them. Yes, you can certainly have large areas of uncovered metal, but when it comes to the chips, keeping them small, tidy and refined, I think for myself is more in keeping. You can run along rivet lines, so you can see where the toothpick is just catching in the paint and it's lifting the paint, and it is just random. Random. The human eye, or psyche by nature, wants to put order into everything it sees. So you just need to try and teach yourself to be as random as you can. Now, I don't know how well you're going to see that. Let me try and zoom in a bit. Right, so there are the beginnings of very small chips here, which once we started them, we can start doing a stabbing motion with the brush, trying to mimic where the footfall is going to be. So they're going to be sliding down the side of the fuselage and walking over the wing root. You can scrub. You need to be a bit more careful doing that because that may lift more paint. I think we're just going to have to go in and work with the toothpick. So little stabs, little scratches. You know, pick out the rivets individually if you want. And all we're trying to do is mimic operational use on the paint. So scratching, stabbing, dragging. Anything that will mimic a boot. Going over the paintwork, lifting it. When you've done a bit, come back in with a brush. Helps brush away the chips. And it'll start to reveal this pattern that we're getting. And if the brushes are slightly soft, that's good, because that means you're going to control how quickly you lift the chips away. And it will give you more time to make it more realistic. So we'll go in with a slightly harder brush, and we want to brush down that join line there. Now you can also use brushes like this, but you have to be very, very careful. So this is a glass fiber brush. So you can roll it out, which makes the fiber tips a little softer, or you roll it back in, shortens the length of the tips, makes them a little more stiffer and hence a little more aggressive. But these will be more aggressive than the brushes, so you need to be careful. And just think, men with their feet, you know, we want operational wear. Needs to be down the side a little bit. So it's a case of just working at it until you get to a point where you're happy with what you've got. You'll find the more paint you scuff up, the more you'll get water underneath it, the quicker it'll come away. A toothpick is nice because you can vary the pressure and you can just do a drag-in motion. Let it skip across the surface. You're getting longer ones, shorter ones. Bits where they've obviously scuffed along or bounced over. It's really just all down to the interpretation of the modeler as to how far they want to go with chipping. Same rule with most things in modeling though, less is more. And when the surface starts to get a little dry, just come back in, fresh brush, wipe it down, get rid of all the paint dust and chips. And the other thing that will affect chipping is the fluid you're using. So you can use proprietary brands of chipping fluid, or you can use hairspray. I know Rinaldi, the model maker, he uses Tresemme number 3, if I remember rightly. I happen to use whatever I could find on my good lady's wife makeup stand, so it's a bit more resilient to my efforts to get it to chip, which I'm quite happy at because it means it's more controlled. So I'm able to work the area where I want more to come off, and I'm having to work it reasonably firmly, just scratching away and then coming in there and rubbing away with my brush. And push it up the way, there we go, down the way, and that's starting to chip really rather nicely. Quite happy with that. And we'll just go down the rivet line, enhance that rivet line there, and there. Bit softer now, don't want to take up so much paint. I get a bit more here on the trailing edge. Reference photographs are a must. Imagination is a must. Put yourself in the mind of where the crew's boots will be hitting this paintwork. And come back in, wipe off. And another way we can go about doing this when it dries, if we want to just tame it back or we want to increase it a bit, is we can come in with a sanding sponge, just gently feather it down and thin the paint. You're only limited by your imagination, but definitely go on YouTube, go on to like a modeling website and a forum and ask the question how other people do it. Don't just look at one person and do it that way. Go and do a bit of research and see if you can find a different way of doing chipping that you prefer, works easier for you. This is just how I do it and how I like to do it. So there we are, we can see the chipping is starting to appear nicely on the wing. I'm going to work it forward into this region here. I think we'll have the nose step going on that sort of area there, if I remember rightly. Yeah. So this area here is the walking area, obviously the front of the wings, but I'm going to try and chip. We're going to chip a little bit around the gun ports and some of these hatches. And we'll do a little bit of chipping, not so much on this side. Most of the access was from this side. And we're also going to chip around the edges of the panel here, which is actually chipping quite nicely without even putting any water on it. So we can just introduce that into there. We've got a little raised edge here which will catch a bit of traffic, footfall and whatnot. So we're going to chip along here. Front edge. You know, sliding for the windscreen, and we can chip around here if we want, although there is a randle to go on there. So I think at the moment I'm just going to concentrate here on the wing root. We're going to expand this area here in the middle a bit where most of the football falls are going to be. Polish it up on the wing. And generally just get to the point we're happy. So I'm going to work on it for a little while, and then I'll come back when I'm nearly finished. We'll have a look at it, and then we can see what else we can do to liven it up. So we'll see you again shortly. Right, so hopefully now you can see we have got substantial chipping on the pilot side of the entrance and exit of the cockpit. We've done some chipping over the gun bay hatches, and we've gone into this side here, done some chipping over this side, a little bit of chipping here, not as much. Obviously this is just crew access that's going along here, and we've gone along some of these panels, and I'm just working my way along the engine cowlings. I'm quite happy with how the chipping's turned out here. I think that looks alright, and I'm just going to do a little bit more here and over the engine. We've also got the fuel tank as well. What you can do if you want to just give it a quick sand over, that'll just calm down any harsh edges. So if there's any sort of half stuck paint chips, then they'll be gone at that. And this is just Ultimate Modeling Products buffing polisher sponge. It's really good, just has a gentle means of polishing. We can go over any raised areas and just gently knock through the painted top surface, just to fade away the paint and reveal some of that silver underneath, especially on these representative Zeus fasteners. I'm not going to just go wholesale, you know, operational, loved but not beaten up. And I found with the hairspray I've used, this is I think it was Schwarzkopf maybe, I can't remember, that you don't even need water. Just simply using the toothpicks to abrade the areas you want to chip is enough to go down through the paint layer, revealing the silver underneath. So it's working really well with the hairspray as a medium of just giving you enough slip, I suppose you'd call it, between the silver layer and the actual camouflage layers. So I'm doing all different ways, so you know, footwork scratching that way, footwork scratching it that way. Just little picks and stabs, you know, maybe focus along the rivet lines a little bit. Just to kind of give us this nicely worn look and maintenance. You know, make sure you do the edges of panels and whatnot where the panels would normally be taken up or repaired or replaced. And the thing is, just remember, less is more. So just remember to stop, take a look. Are you happy? Do you need a bit more? Have you done enough? Have you overdone it? That's the biggest question. Have you overdone it? Because if you overdone it, you're going to have to think of some way of putting the top coat back on just to mute the chipping without overdoing it and basically starting from scratch. So less is more. Take your time and stop when you think you're going too far, because you probably are. And you know, experience will tell you enough's enough. Probably just about there, actually. Just working this transition between the wing surface and the jointing fillet. I think I am, you know, I'm just probably at that point where I am thinking, yeah, I've got enough here. I've also done along the canopy rails. Just need to put some in here, I think, on this high spot. Hinges are another good place. Hinges for flaps. They always chip paint. Right, clean off. Toothbrush. Dry, obviously. And there we go. There is a chipped, weathered aircraft fuselage. And I'm actually quite happy with that. I'm not too bad at all. Just need to give it a little rub here and there, just to get rid of some of the sanding residues. But yeah, that's quite nice. And the thing to remember is when we come in with the oil washers, it's going to mute it all back quite a bit. So these quite stark chips on the wing here will actually just dial back a little bit, and we'll just take the edge off them, you know, put a black grey wash on it, and that will mute them slightly, which is what we want. We don't want them to be, well, some of them will be sharp, but some of them won't, you know. We just want them to be subtle there, but not overpowering. So there we go. I think I'm quite happy with that. Probably going to leave it at that. That's the model chipped. It's taken us about, what, half hour or so, and I think it's quite nice. In my opinion, it's all right. So I'm just going to double check, clean up, and then the next thing to do will be to put down. Actually, I don't even know if I need a matte coat. I might just go for the decals straight away, because the paint is really smooth. So I don't know if we need just to waste the time of putting on another top coat. So give me 5 minutes just to finish cleaning off the model, and I think we'll come back and look at the decals. See you shortly.